takeaways from your side of the ball on Saturday night? Anything stick out to you?
Well, obviously the explosive run that we had. I mean, we want to be better in that situation. That's out of character for us. And up front, we need to do a better job at the point of attack. A lot of things. The good news is after that particular play, I think they averaged 1.8 yards per carry. So the response, again, was phenomenal by the guys, the defense. But you just want to stay out of letting a team accumulate those types of yards and then obviously the points that came from behind it.
John mentioned, you didn't really affect their quarterbacks all that well. Where is the pass rush at this point? You don't have your best pass rusher, but where do you size that up at this point?
Yeah, we're using the process right now to make sure that we're ready to go when it counts. And right now we're in the midst of that. The guys are working extremely hard. There's some things that we just need to do a little bit better as far as coordination, as far as all being on the same page, so we can really take advantage of the exceptional talent that we have to win one-on-one. So there's some areas that kind of took us out of being able to do our absolute best in that situation. I know what the guys are capable of, and they know what we need to fix and adjust, and we'll get there. Keep in mind, we've had 3 sacks in the first game, 3 in the second game. So we've gotten the quarterback on the ground from the guys who were in the first huddle all the way through the guys who were ending the game. But there's that first third down of those obvious passing situations, we need to be ready to go there.
Eric, is there a heightened sense of, I'm not sure if it's concern or urgency to settle that middle linebacker spot given what we've seen as far as the rotation goes?
Obviously, and that you're exactly right. And getting that position settled, because that's the primary communicator to the defense, what that means as far as that person making the adjustments and just kind of, having the entire defense revolve around him. Sure. And, we continue to work through that. The people who are vying for that position are working their tails off, and we'll just let it play out.
At this point, are you considering giving the green dot helmet to maybe a veteran player, knowing that there's that uncertainty at that position right now?
Well, I wouldn't call it uncertainty. We're in the process right now of giving as much exposure as we possibly can to the people who are at that position, and then just getting ourselves ready to go for the next practice, the next game, and just letting the situation play out.
Eric, Jordan Phillips, you've given him some limited work in practice since he came off. Where is he at physically? Is he trending the right way for week 1?
Absolutely. He's doing better and better. Now he's in a position where he can go out and take full advantage of practice. And he's obviously being on a ramp up kind of a scheduling program. There's going to be more today. And I look forward to hopefully seeing him in action soon. But the best thing that Jordan can do right now is just really, really take advantage of practice. It's going to be extremely competitive today, and just keep staying on schedule. But I like where he's headed.
Is there a level of disappointment that one of the middle linebackers didn't just step up and absolutely dominate that position and take the job?
No, not from where I'm sitting. I mean, what the offseason is about, what training camp is about, is trying to develop the roster, trying to develop our defense, the values, the things that we want to be about, and also just going through the evaluation process. And right now, you could look at that one or two ways. Right now, we have 2 guys that or 2 or 3 guys we really feel great about, and they're making our decision extremely tough. So you can look at it that way, but disappointment, absolutely not.
You signed guys because of, obviously, what you expect them to do for you in the future, not what they've done in the past. But Jordan Phillips, he played, 24 snaps against the Bengals in the playoff game. He was hurting, you know what I mean?
Sure.
He got it out. Were you glad to see him come back because he kind of took one for the team late last season, playing hurt?
Well, when Jordan's healthy, he's a dominant player when he's healthy. And so obviously, that's a fluid situation over the course of a season. You're never as good that late in the season as you are at the very beginning. What we're trying to do is just make sure we get Jordan back to a point where he can play the way he did in the opening game against the Rams, or somewhere close to that. He was dominant in that game, and before he went down the second ball game against Tennessee, he carried that forward. And Jordan is working on that. We know what he brings to the table when he's healthy, as a run defender, as a pass rusher, as a one-on-one guy. And I'm just looking forward to getting him as close to that as possible because I know that's what he wants and what it'll mean for the defense.
The middle linebacker spot again, just to go back to that, Coach. So there's obviously the play of the player, and then there's the lining up and everything. What about the ability to still play fast because you have to process all of that? Is that something that you have to make sure you work through with somebody who can call it, know it, and still play as fast as you want them to play without thinking about all that?
That's a part of the job description, and it's a very important part of the job description, because not only does that position, that player, that have to communicate certain things to the defense, the front, the guys in the back seven or in the secondary, but he also has to do his job.
Right.
He has to get his eyes on what his keys are, and he has to know what his job description and details are. And you have to do that in real time. Sometimes when it's no huddle, sometimes in a critical situation, you have to absorb so much. So that's a part of the job description and detail, and that's what this part of the season is about, just getting ourselves as good with that particular skill as we possibly can be.
Coach, Kameron Cline seems to be a guy that keeps popping up. Keep noticing him. How would you describe his progression through camp and the preseason to this point?
He's done some nice things, and there's a reason, obviously, that we brought him in. Quick. He's got a lot of energy off the ball, explosive type player off the edge. He's physical, and I just like what he's done in the first 2 preseason ball games. Recovered a fumble the other night, sacked the quarterback to end the ball game, and then a week ago shared a sack with DJ Dale. So he has definitely gotten my attention, and I just want to continue to watch what he does with more opportunities.
Knowing he's got veterans ahead of him at his position, how much did last week's performance, particularly on special teams, help his case?
Well, I think anytime you perform well on teams and you attain the type of production that he's been able to do as a line of scrimmage player, I think that only helps your case in terms of trying to present yourself as a final 53-man roster member. But we'll continue to go and just continue to give him opportunities and kind of see where we go with that.
Eric, where do you see Trey White, knowing that he was going to have to ramp up last season? It takes that much time to get fit after such an injury. Where do you see him right now?
Yeah, Trey is, fortunately, he's in a different position than he was when he came back from the injury, and that's getting back to the Trey that we all knew and love and that we know is one of the best at his position in pro football. So just seeing him not so much worry about what's going to happen and just could be able to focus on the technique, the details of his technique and the scheme and the system that we're working. So he's he's less focused on the injury and more focused on just being takeaway Trey.
From your perspective, what is the communication like with hearing how Vaughn's doing and getting updates on his progress? Obviously, it's getting closer to the season, that impacts, your planning, knowing how he's doing. Like, what is that like? How often do you get updates and how is he progressing?
Yeah, I see Vaughn every day, and Vaughn is a part of the meetings. He's a part of what we're doing. Obviously, his status prevents him from being in certain aspects of our of the program and practice and whatnot. But I see him every day. I see Vaughn getting himself ready to play. Just going back to the meeting that we just had, he was as active in that meeting as he's ever been. Talking about just giving feedback, talking about what we were detailing on the film. So Vaughn's getting himself ready to play, and he's as close as he's ever been, just to the group. He is not distant from the group.
From a health perspective, like as a coach, do you have to plan for him to be available and for him not to be available week 1? Are you there yet, or is it still a little too far off to kind of get there?
As a coach, you always have to plan for attrition. You have to have a contingency plan because attrition is real in this league, whether it's Vaughn or anybody else. So you are always planning for the what ifs and different scenarios that may present themselves based on player availability.
You know these players. Is there an under the radar guy that maybe you as reporters haven't really been talking about much that has really impressed you throughout this season?
in the group that I'm responsible for, I think Kingsley Jonathan I think he made a nice case for himself in the game last week. There was a unique circumstance. Normally, we're able to rotate players in and out of the ball game, and due to, injury situation, we had 4 guys left to play, a player availability. And Kingsley just really, he did some nice things in the ball game. As a rusher, he got a sack in the game. He was physical at the point of attack. His effort to the ball, and that's tough when you don't have a fresh wave of 4 guys coming in the game to kind of bump for you. So I was really impressed with his mindset, his physicality, the energy, and he was oblivious in terms of how he competed to what the score was. He was just out there playing football as hard as he possibly could. So that was cool to see.